Hey, Bert.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Wonderful. Let me do my quick little intro and then we can go right into it. Thanks for making time today.
Of course.
Oh, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Live Nation Urban Presents Meet the Founders. I'm your host, Brandon Pankey, and today we have an exciting and special guest, Brittney Escovedo. If you don't know Brittney, she is a maven in the fashion world. She's ventured out into tech, music, and everything else. She's phenomenal. She is the founder of Beyond 8, which is an experiential, production and brand strategy agency. She's worked with the likes of Solange Knowles and Complex. She's helped to launch and grow Pyer Moss into the brand that it is today. I'm missing 80 million other brands that she has worked with, but she's somebody that I'm super excited to be speaking to. So thank you for making time with us today.
Of course. I'm excited to be here. This
Eh,
is my first live, by the way.
Really? Well, you already look like a natural. So let's keep it going. I love it. I love it. And yes, we are going. Whoever this Mona Lisa, we're going to give her all the flowers, and they'll still be alive. That's the blessing. So here we go. Let's go right into it, Brittney, if you can, because it's an amazing thing to see a woman of color running her own agency. Can you talk about the journey to get to Beyond Aid? And you don't have to skip anything. All the time, the world is yours. Let's go for it.
Oh, the entire journey. So we're gonna start from the beginning.
From the beginning. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm from California, originally from the Bay Area. Grew up, born and raised in Richmond, California.
Okay.
And when I was growing up, my mom actually owned a company, but she owned it on the side. So she had like a full-time job. She worked in the hospital. She worked in, medicine. She worked in clinical research. And so she literally started this business with one crate in the back of her trunk. And I remember wanting to start her starting this durable medical equipment company. And it started with one patient chart, two patient charts, and then it grew to her having her own business. So I loved and respected her hustle. The fact that she worked full time, she was a single mom, had two kids, and carved out time to start her own business. I knew I wanted to start my own company too, but I didn't know when. I didn't know in what capacity. I didn't know how. I didn't even know in what field. Initially, I was going to school for nursing, and then I transitioned and decided to change and go to school for fashion design. And as I was at the Art Institute studying fashion design, I realized I wasn't innovative enough. I was not creative enough to have my own house. When you're in this market that's like so saturated, you have to have really strong ideas. I think I didn't want to start a career as a designer, but I knew I wanted to move to New York. I actually really wanted to move to Paris first.
Okay.
And I really wanted to move to Paris. I wanted to work in Paris. And one of my professors suggested that I start with a company that was New York based that did work in Paris. And I was like, hey, that's a good idea. I couldn't get any work in New York. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I started interning at an agency in Los Angeles, Seventh House PR. And I worked with them. In the first 2 weeks, I started producing events and I loved it. My first project was with Charlotte Ronson. She had a new brand called I Heart Ronson that she launched with JC Penney. And it was at Chateau Marmont. And it was so fun and exciting and interesting. There was a live band performed, her brother performed, so Mark Ronson performed, her sister DJ'd, Samantha. And 2 weeks later, I was like, I want to move to New York. And the woman that was in charge of all of the interns was Amber Feld. And she said, if you want to move, just let me know and you can go. And I was like, well, how quickly? She's like, let me know on Thursday. I came back in on that Thursday and I honestly moved to New York that following Monday. I packed 2 suitcases. I lied and said I had somewhere to stay. I didn't have anywhere to stay. I stayed with a girl I had just met at this company the week before.
Okay.
She crashed on her couch and it kind of just like went from there. I interned with them for free for maybe 4 months and then they started paying me. I worked with them for 4 years in total. And then I continued to climb. And I knew when I was at that company, I would start my own production agency, but I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the financials. I didn't have the network. I was brand new to New York. So I left Seventh House. I started working at another agency, Sydney Rising Creative. And we worked with a lot of really cool brands like Hood by Air. That's when I first started working with the ASAP Mob. We worked with Frank 151. We worked with DKNY, like all kinds of really like awesome projects. Then I worked at Factory PR for 2 years. And then when I was at Factory, I knew it was time. It was time for me to start my own business. And what I did was the last year that I was there, I actually started doing projects on the side. So same like my mom, followed in her footsteps.
Yep.
And I saved all the money. So I started a bank account, a business account. I started an LLC, and anything I did on the side, I saved it in a bank account. And then that's how I started my company. And so when I left, I was just like, I had a little over 50,000 that I had saved. And I just tapped into all the resources and all the relationships I had made over the past, at that point, it had been maybe 6, 7 years in New York. And they're all friends. All my first clients were all friends that I worked with at previous agencies.
Right.
The one good thing about doing production at PR agencies was PR has a really high turnover. Mm-hmm. So all of these publicists are coming in, they're there for a year, 2 years, and then they leave. And guess what? All those publicists go to other companies. They go in-house or they go to other agencies, and they would just recommend me to their clients. And so time and time again, I just continue to grow really based on word of mouth.
That's dope. That's phenomenal. Something small that I want to ask, and this is just for all of the entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs. Was it difficult for you to start your LLC? Was it difficult to open that account? Or did you have help with that? Because I know some people are like, I'm scared to, venture off and do this.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So to be honest, I had been involved with Pyer Moss since inception. So prior to Kirby even having a name, we more or less started all of that together. So we were going through the process with his company, getting an LLC, getting a bank account. So I'd already kind of done it once. And then this was me starting on my own. So by the time I did it on my own, I wasn't afraid. I did have friends. I had a friend that was a lawyer. I have a friend that works in finance. I had, friends and access to resources and people that I trusted that I could speak to and actually support me with doing those things.
So since you brought them up, let's talk about your journey with Pyer Moss. How did that start and how did it grow? And just watching that journey from where it was to the 2020 fashion show to partnering with Reebok, and you were a part of that, from inception. So talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, I mean, Kirby is he's really, really smart. He's an incredible individual. He's had a very interesting perspective on life and has always been very vocal and very political. I met him through a mutual friend. He actually came to a fashion show that I was producing, and he was like, hey, I have my friend. He wants to start a brand. He doesn't kind of know really where to start. He wants to ask questions. I'm like, cool. And one of his first questions, which I always think is so funny, especially now looking back at it, was, how do I get celebrities to wear my clothes? Now it's like celebrities wear his clothes every single day. But that was one of his first questions. And we kind of just started there. I really believed in him. I thought that he had, like I said, an interesting perspective, very, very, very smart. And we just started building it together. And I was invested. And before I knew it, I was producing this small show. It was a capsule collection. He doesn't even really count it as the first show. It's kind of like a showcase, I guess you could say, not an actual presentation. And it consisted of these initial pieces he had made in Turkey. And that's what we showed. And we were able to get the space for free. We were able to get the casting director did it as a favor. His initial publicist was one of my very good friends. So he did it pro bono. And we had all these people really show up and support in the beginning. Not that everyone did, but right. We have a group that did in the beginning. And he grinded. It's been a long journey, and he's worked very hard. It's been definitely a lot of no's, a lot more no's than yeses. But now he's, I was just saying this earlier today, he's up for CFDA Menswear of the Year award this year. So hopefully he wins it. He's very deserving.
No, well, congrats on all the success with Pyer Moss. And talk to us about how important the intersection is between fashion and music, because I know in your work, particularly with an experiential agency, excuse me, just how they are intertwined so much, for everything that you do.
Well, for me, it's really important because I also come from, I talked about my mom, but my dad's family are all musicians. So the Escovedo is my grandfather's last name. So Pete Escovedo, a Latin jazz musician. He's a legendary percussionist and timbali player that's in the Bay Area. My aunt is Sheila E. My dad's a conga player.
Wait,
My
what? Stop! Oh, stop the whole interview. Stop. Gun is Sheila E. Sheila E. or another Sheila that just happened to be named Sheila? Talk to
no,
me.
Sheila E. Sheila E. The E is Escovedo.
I like how you snuck that in there. Go ahead. You can keep going.
Yeah, so she's a musician, my dad's a musician, my uncle's a producer, my cousins are musicians, like my entire family. My dad's side is all musical, my mother's side is all like education and healthcare. And so the combination of the two, where I think even though I didn't go into the medical field, I think my level of organization and execution kind of goes from that side, right? Like my brain and the smarts and the numbers, but then my creativity comes from my dad's family. And so for me, anytime I can highlight live music and performers, I want to.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, I love DJs, no disrespect to DJs, but I would love to have, live talent. And so for as many of the performances and experiences that I could work on, I try to layer that in. And I think it's also why we work so well with performers, so when we do work with artists, I don't treat them any differently than I do you or my
Right.
friend or a family member, because the reality is we're all human and they're just like us. And so I think, like, to me, it's just like it's a great marriage between fashion and music.
Yeah. I just want to say that Live Nation Urban loves live music as well.
Obviously.
Post COVID, we'll be there. But no, I wanted to just think about Beyond 8 as a company, as a woman of color. Has it been difficult at all when you're pitching to certain companies? Do they look at you with some sort of opposition, or has it been, straightforward?
It's changed. In
Okay.
the beginning, it was something I thought about a lot. The companies I worked for were predominantly white. The world that I worked in was predominantly white. What I saw were these elite women and men that come from families that I didn't come from,
Right.
in the sense of, privilege. And I didn't have that. And so when I started out, I felt like everything every event that we had to show diversity, but not just my culture diversity. Like, we need to make sure it was very white too. And
Mm.
that's how I started. And because I wasn't sure if we were going to be received and accepted in the same way, if it was really who I am and who my culture really is and who my friends are. And so in the very onset, it was something I thought about a lot. Like, can we be a diverse agency? And it was something that I teetered with. But then I realized we are just as skilled as anyone else. We deserve these opportunities. So me being a woman, me being Black and Mexican, me being from the Bay Area, all of this should really be reasons why someone works with us. And I think that I've now learned to just accept the fact that if they're clients that work with us because of who I am and because of what I offer, fantastic. If there's clients that don't work with us for those things, there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
My race isn't going to change, and neither is my gender. And I think that I deserve all the opportunities that are given to me and so much more. So that's my take on it.
Love it. I love it. And just because someone wrote early on that I need to give you all of your flowers, can you list some of the companies that you worked with and work with currently?
Oh my goodness. There's so many. We've worked with anyone from Red Bull. We work with CultureCon, who I love, Bobby Brown, Makeup, Motown, um, Atlantic Records, Essence Magazine, Gucci, Caring, um, Master and Dynamic. Like, there's so many different brands across like spectrums of fashion, music, lifestyle. We work with like 1800, Jose Cuervo, like so many.
No. And I'm going to end with this. For that individual that is working, that wants to start their own business, but they're scared, what would you say to them? Just based on your journey, based on everything you've gone through, what would you share with them?
I always say just start, because the thing is that oftentimes people are waiting for all the stars to align. They're waiting for some like specific, special, I don't know, moment when everything is perfect, and nothing's going to ever be perfect. It's not perfect now. So just like start, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have it all figured out. You can start today, and you can start small. You can start in your network. The other second thing I always say is like, foster your relationships. The people that are in your life are so important, and you shouldn't be looking to have relationships with CEOs or owners and think those are the only people that are important. No, it's like your friends. It's the people around you. It's your colleagues. It's those individuals that will, like I said in the beginning, how I started my business, where they went to one company and they went to another company and they recommended me. How am I on the platform right now? Is because of Asia, who I worked with, and she was a friend. She was someone that I was kind to, someone that she was kind to me, and then now she's recommended me to be here. So I think like being intentional and genuine about being a human first and being kind to people first is very important. And then just starting. People will receive what you're giving, hands down.
Absolutely. Just start. Message of the damn week, I think. Just start. You'll get there. Thank you. I don't want to cut it short, but Brandon has to actually go and get on a Zoom and do some work. But this was phenomenal, and I appreciate you making time. And just so you know, we've been, now I'm just going to pitch Live Nation Urban. We've been trying to do some sort of music and fashion sort of show, whether it's virtual or not. So, you know, hit Niasia, who's our head of creative services, and we will hit you and figure it out. Thank you.
We got so much of the Beyond Day team in here, so much family. Some of my closest friends are here. Cece, Robert, Emily. Literally, Emily has sponsored some of our shows from jump when I didn't have like anything to give her, any way to like anything. And she's always down to do the nails. I love her. She started her own company. So shout out to all the homies that pulled up.
Shout out. And thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Beyond 8, one of the greatest experiential production and brand strategy agencies in the world. I'll just call it and say it like it is. Miss Brittney Escovedo. Brittney, thank you so much for making time today.
Thank you. So good talking with you.
Likewise, this has been Live Nation Urban Presents Meet the Founders. I'm your host, Brandon Pankey, and we'll be back next week. Thank you, everybody. Take care.